Today we'll be taking a look at some truly stunning water features, from the deserts of Dubai to the Olympic stadiums of Tokyo. Here are 15 of the most amazing water features. Number 15. Falling water. While there are plenty of pretty private residences, few have a water feature that quite compares to the one at Falling Water. Created by American architect Frank Lloyd Wright for the Kaufman family, it's located in the mountains of southwestern Pennsylvania and is truly a sight to behold. Completed in 1939, Lloyd Wright made the creative choice of building the house on top of the waterfall near Bear Run, creating an effect where it looks like the house is spitting out a massive waterfall. This not only led Falling Water to be recognized as the best all-time work of American architecture by the American Institute of Architects, but also in gaining a spot on the UNESCO list of World Heritage Sites. And today it serves as a museum that can be visited by the public. So, while this water feature may be entirely natural, we'd say it's truly incredible. Number 14. The Dubai Fountain. While the nearby Burj Khalifa may be Dubai's main attraction, the fountain that's right in front of it is nonetheless extremely impressive. That's because this large 12-hectare fountain doesn't just spurt up water, but also has an impressively choreographed routine that wows visitors from around the world. The fountain was completed by California-based company Wet Design in 2019 at a cost of $218 million. Most would agree that it was certainly worth it. After all, at any one time, it has 83,000 liters of water flowing through it. During water shows, this water is illuminated by a collection of 6,600 lights and 25 color projectors. They are then combined with an assortment of water robots that can shoot the water to heights of between 75 and 100 meters. And once in motion, these effects are then timed with a playlist of both classical and contemporary music. In tandem, these all make for spectacular water shows, which occur multiple times each day for both locals and tourists alike. So if you ever get the chance to visit Dubai, we'd highly suggest checking out this incredible water fountain. Number 13. The Floating Fountain Concept. Olympic stadiums tend to be pretty grand. After all, they're showcased to the entire world on a live television, and therefore home countries tend to put a lot of money into them in order to impress their international competition. However, as far as stadiums go, few could have had a water feature that is quite as impressive as the one at Tokyo's Olympic Stadium. Known as the Floating Fountain, it would have been a massive ring of water that circles around the stadium, and it could have had two primary purposes. The first would be to act as an aesthetically pleasing border, as it could have had a ring of fire that would flare up during events. The second primary purpose would be as a skating rink, which would have been its use during the winter and after the games were over. However, while we would argue that Japanese designer Tokujin Yoshioka's floating fountain concept was super cool, it was unfortunately not selected by Olympic organizers. Number 12. Endless pools. While most pools are stagnant, endless pools kick things up a notch by allowing you to swim in them forever. In essence, an endless pool is a lot like a treadmill, as it allows you to swim in one place while the water pushes you back to keep you in one location. Used by high-level athletes around the world, they allow you to work on technique without having to worry about moving through the water, turning at walls, or yielding for other teammates, making them by far more immersive than simply practicing drills up and down the pool. Because they're smaller, they also tend to be much warmer, making them a great place to comfortably practice technique before doing a much harder set in the pool. So while given the ingenuity of the endless pool, it shouldn't come as a surprise that they feature heavily in the training centers of high-level swim programs. Number 11. The Pentagon Memorial. The events of September 11, 2001 were truly tragic, and so it shouldn't come as a surprise that a memorial was built just southwest of the Pentagon to commemorate the 184 people who died as victims in the building and on American Airlines Flight 77 during the attacks. Opened on September 11th of 2008, it's quite expansive, yet some of its most interesting sections are its water features. You see, the memorial has a total of 184 illuminated benches to represent each victim, and under each bench sits a shallow lighted pool of flowing water. If more than one member of a family died during the attack, the names of all the victims in the family are also listed in the reflecting pool under the bench, creating a truly touching memorial. So we think it's fair to say that the Pentagon Memorial water features are truly unique. Number 10. The Seattle Center International Fountain. While many fountains are strictly meant to be seen and not touched, the Seattle Center International Fountain is a little bit different. Constructed in its current form in 1995 as part of a $6.5 million rebuild by Wet Design, the fountain is accessible to anyone who wants to run through it. And given its many types of jets, we wouldn't be surprised if it seems like somewhere that you would want to jog through. After all, not only does it have 56 micro shooters that send water straight into the air, but 77 fleur-de-lis nozzles that create medium-sized arcs, 4 super shooter nozzles that can go 37 meters into the air, and most importantly of all, 137 mist nozzles that create a cold fog. That's refreshing to run into on a hot summer's day. Therefore, we think it's fair to say that the Seattle Center International Fountain truly is an elite water feature. Number 9. Infinity pools. If you've ever seen footage taken on a European resort, hillside retreat, or multi-million-dollar home, chances are that you've seen an infinity pool. The perfect water feature for any high-class home, they're cool in that they appear to float in such a way that the water is right at the edge of the pool walls, but doesn't splash over. How do they work? Well, it turns out that an infinity pool are essentially like reworked versions of waterfalls. Now, generally speaking, a waterfall will have 2 levels, where water falls from a high point to a low point. With an infinity pool, there's a small dip in one section of it to allow water to flow over into a lower catchment basin. In order to create the disappearing edge illusion, infinity pools are designed without a visible cap, which means that at deck level, there's nothing to call attention to the disappearing edge. This illusion works so well that this design has been wildly successful around the globe, and as such, there are some pretty stunning examples of them being used as water features in places such as Singapore's Marina Bay Sands Hotel and Italy's Belmond Hotel Caruso. We're constantly adding more people to the Top 5's production team to bring you all the best content. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on and hit the like button. Number 8. The Bellagio Fountains. There's nowhere on Earth that's quite like Las Vegas. After all, this city of glitz, glamour, and gambling is America's partying hub. And as such, it shouldn't come as a surprise that some of its hotels are a little over the top. And while many have cool sculptures and great casinos, the Bellagio stands apart due to its massive water fountains. Set in a 3.2-hectare man-made lake that's pumped with water from a freshwater well, the fountains were created by the design firm Wet, so that they were multifunctional. That's because while the fountain's network of pipes with more than 1,200 nozzles allow it to shoot water during the day, its more than 4,500 lights allow it to put on quite the show at night. Known as the Fountains of Bellagio, the show takes place on a 15 to 30-minute interval from the afternoon until midnight and consists of a range of jets from 208 oarsmen with a spherical range of motion to 16 extreme shooters that can send water up to 140 meters into the air. When combined with its flashing lights, it shouldn't come as a surprise that this fountain really is one of the coolest tourist attractions on the Strip. Number 7. The Taj Mahal Pond. The Taj Mahal is easily one of the most beautiful tombs ever constructed. Commissioned by Shah Jahan in 1631 to commemorate the death of his wife Mumtaz Mahal, in January of that year, it was completed in 1651, and with 7 to 8 million visitors per year is one of India's most famous tourist destinations. Now, what's interesting about the Taj Mahal is that it's located on the banks of the Yamuna River, and it's from here that the water is drawn directly into the Taj Mahal Pond. This pond is located inside a raised marble water tank with a reflecting pool that captures the grandeur of the Taj Mahal. While a total of 24 fountains on all sides of it help to enhance the pond's aesthetic, interestingly enough, despite their age, the 17th century system of rope-fueled water pumps and large storage tubs are still in use, while many of the copper pipes have also stood the test of time. Therefore, while the Taj Mahal's pond may be quite old, it's still running like a well-oiled machine. Number 6. The Palace of Versailles. Few places scream extravagance quite like the Palace of Versailles. Built up throughout the 17th century, the palace was the official home of the royal family until the French Revolution, and as you might expect for a princely estate, it has plenty of water features around the property that make it truly unique. The ones closest to the building are the Parterre d'Eau and the Parterre and Fountain of Latona, which are 2 features that reflect the facade of the palace while being decorated with sculptures that don't interfere with that reflection. Further on, this is the famous basin of the Chariot of Apollo, which depicts the sun god of Apollo rising out of the water as would the rising sun, making it a favorite of King Louis XIV, as he considered himself to be the Sun King, Weird, we know. Beyond these features, there are also four-season fountains which depict ancient gods associated with all four seasons. The fountains of the Fight of the Animals, which depict lions, tigers, and bloodhounds bringing down wild boars, wolves, bears, and stags. And the Neptune Fountain, which is completely black and gold and has an extraordinary 99-jet hydraulic system. As an interesting historical side note, while these water features help make Versailles a beautiful place to visit, they reportedly also pose a major problem during the years of the French monarchy, as the water redirected to the fountains led to a shortage of water for the local people. Regardless, despite their heavy use of water, we'd still say that they're super cool water features today. Number 5. The Sky Pool. Many new apartments will come with a pool where apartment owners can swim in. But if you happen to live at EcoWorld's Ballymore New Embassy Gardens development in southwest London, then you can have access to one of the coolest pools in the world, known as the Sky Pool. It's a see-through pool that bridges the gap between two residential skyscrapers, and given that it's 35 meters above street level, it holds the distinction of being the largest freestanding acrylic pool structure in the world. In order to create this impressive water feature, the apartment's British developers had to defer to manufacturers based in Colorado, as the project was completed in a three-way effort by architectural firm Arup Associates, the engineering firm Eckersley O'Callaghan, and the aquarium designing firm Reynolds. The end result was an acrylic container that was 25 meters long, 3.2 meters deep, had sides that were 200 millimeters thick, and a bottom that was 300 millimeters thick. All of this led to the pool weighing in at a hefty 375 tons, and this meant that in order to be installed properly, it had to be lifted in place by a 750-ton mobile crane that was supported by a 50-ton crane, which allowed for maximum precision. Once installed, the Sky Pool was then given steps and filtration systems on either end, with 5 modes of lighting being added in order to create a magical feeling. Now that it's open, many who have used it liken the experience of swimming in the pool to flying, as they can see everything below them as they swim around. However, given only that apartment owners can use the pool, and that an apartment in the building will set you back about $1.4 million, it's unlikely you'll ever step foot inside the Sky Pool. Number 4. The HSBC Rain Vortex. Asia is at the center of many of the world's most impressive innovations, and the Rain Vortex is no exception. Made as a part of Singapore's new entertainment complex at Changi Airport in 2019, it is by all accounts the largest indoor waterfall in the world. Sponsored by HSBC, the Rain Vortex measures in at 40 meters in height and uses water that comes from a toroid-shaped roof with more than 9,000 pieces of glass spanning the area of about 200 by 150 meters. This roof facilitates the waterfall thanks to the use of recirculating rainwater, which is pumped from the roof to free fall at a rate of about 37,000 liters per minute. After falling, the water hits a basement-level pool that uses a high-tech acrylic funnel design. This ensures that the water will not only splash, but is much more silent than it would be otherwise. If there ever happens to be more rainwater running through the waterfall than the tank can hold, then the water is not drained away but instead used to nurture the more than 200 plant species that populate the waterfall's surrounding terraced gardens. Yet perhaps most interestingly of all, the waterfall's flow is designed to alternate between cascades and trickles. This is supposedly done to reduce air turbulence, which in turn is supposed to minimize the humidity in the building. Thus, with all of this tech coming into play, we think you'd agree the Rain Vortex is a marvel of modern engineering. However, the amazing mechanics of the Rain Vortex don't stop there. That's because at night it becomes the 360-degree stage for a light and sound show. Created using a series of electrical sensors, projectors, and speakers, the entire show can reportedly be controlled via an iPad. In any case, many travelers have commented that standing around this water feature is a great way to pass the time as they wait for a connecting flight. Number 3. Cascada. Generally speaking, most waterfalls are made of, well, water. However, the creatively named Cascada, which means waterfall in Spanish, defies these expectations. Premiering at the El Condado Shopping Center in Quito, Ecuador in 2011, it was created by London-based production studio Nexus Interactive Arts. Measuring in at just under 16 meters tall, it was supposed to give users an interactive sensory experience that leaves them surprised that they're still dry, and as the narrative goes, in dire need of some Coca-Cola. Now, the screen worked by capturing the motions of viewers and then mirroring them back in the negative space on the vertical stream. This meant that different gestures could influence the movement of the waterfall, while the actions would create realistic sounds and splashes which would correspond with what the user did. For example, a group standing in a circle holding hands would cause the water to increase in volume and completely fill up the top half of the screen. While if this same group let go of each other's hands, all of the water would fall back down to the ground. Another interesting aspect about the Cascada is that despite being very technologically advanced at the time, it did not premiere in New York or London. Instead, Coca-Cola hoped to specifically target the South American market with this clever piece of advertising, with an executive producer at Nexus by the name of Chris O'Reilly believing that, quote, "Even though there's not the same level of social media penetration in Latin America, it's more inclusive when there's something like this that you don't need to download an app to enjoy," end quote. Well, regardless, we wouldn't be surprised if we see both Coca-Cola and other large corporations pulling similar stunts in other emerging markets in the near future. Number 2. The DIY water screen. While it is impossible for you to make the most of the water features on this list, this one is a DIY sculpture that you can make all by yourself. Known as a water screen, these features are common in hotels and conference centers worldwide, but at thousands of dollars a pop, they can set you back a pretty penny. However, with this DIY screen, you only need to pay about $300. In order to start, you'll need to have quite a few tools, such as a table saw, power drill, pneumatic nail gun, and tape measure. While you'll also need a few materials such as lumber, tempered glass, a pond pump that can reach a maximum height of your screen, pond liner, water tubing, construction glue, nails, and river rocks. The first step is to create the base and trough of the screen out of wood, and then once that's done, you create the base to place the glass in, and use the pond lining to prevent the wood from becoming damaged. Once this is in place, you can install upright wood planks to create a frame that will support the tempered glass. And then before installing this glass, you can place down whatever finishing you like to gussy up the exterior of the wood with. Then you must create a node to conceal the pump. And once this is done, you can install the tempered glass, ensuring that your frame is sized so that it can fit snugly. Once this is installed, you can input tubing to bring water to the top of the screen. And once the tubes are in, you can seal them with a layer of treated wood. Once all of this is done, you can add the river stones to the base to give the water screen a more aesthetically pleasing look. And once this is all said and done, then you can enjoy your own personal water feature. Number 1. The FDR Memorial. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was by most accounts one of America's greatest presidents. After all, he was at the helm when the United States was going through both the Great Depression and the Second World War, and thus his contributions have given him a spot in the history books far and wide. However, the place that probably stands as the biggest testament to his legacy is the FDR Memorial in Washington, D.C. Dedicated on May 2nd of 1997 by President Bill Clinton, the monument stands apart for not only having many statues and written testaments, but also for having a variety of waterfalls. Interestingly, it was decided that running water would be an important physical and metaphorical component of the memorial. After all, each of the 4 rooms that the memorial uses to represent Roosevelt's 4 terms in office contain their own waterfall. In the first room, the waterfall is a single large drop, which represents the crash of the economy during the Great Depression. In the second room, the drop consists of multiple stair steps, which are representative of the Tennessee Valley Authority dam building project that FDR had championed. In the third room, the waterfall is chaotic and falls at various angles, representing the terror of the Second World War. And in the final room, there's a wide array combining the earlier waterfalls, which is a retrospective of Roosevelt's presidency. As you could probably tell, as you move from room to room, the waterfalls become larger and more complex. This was done in order to reflect the increasing complexity of serving as president, as each term was marked by extreme upheavals and conflicts. As such, the FDR Memorial's vast array of artificial waterfalls is easily one of the most symbolic entries on this list. Watch our binge-watching playlist if you'd like to watch all of our most popular top 15 videos. Grab a drink, grab a snack, and get ready to binge.